Hello and welcome to my channel, Rooted and Rich. I'm Erica Nicole, and today I want to talk to you about debt repayment. I want to talk to you a little bit about my story as well as some tips that I can give you on how to pay down significant debt. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my testimony and my story. So basically, I went through job loss, and so this was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I was laid off from my job, and in that time, I was making good money. I was feeling good. And the Lord really did see me through and all of that because I was able to land another job fairly quickly, but it was a little bit less pay. And so I was like, oh, okay, but things started to kind of go backwards. So right before I got laid off, I totaled my car. And so I was blessed that my dad allowed me to use his extra car for a while, but cars were so high. I was making less money than I was prior. And so I was just like feeling the pinch. And I'm like, I feel like my finances are okay, but it's like, it's not great. So then, fast forward, I started getting a couple of credit cards. I got maybe 2 or 3 credit cards. One was to help me go on this trip. I went to Spain and I had a great time, but I put it all on a credit card and I was like, it's no interest. I'm going to pay it off later because you guys know I don't like to pay interest. And so then I also ended up relocating to a new city, and I relocated to this city, which was far away from my hometown. And so I was like, oh my goodness, I relocated to the city. I had to pay more in rent. The pay was basically almost the same that what I was making, so it wasn't a lot more, or it wasn't much more I don't think it was more at all, to be honest. Probably was the same, but I had to pay for flights back and forth home because it was like not something that I wanted to do, the drive, especially with me having a young son. And so I just started racking up credit card debt. I also took another trip, and you guys, these are just financial decisions that I made, that I'm just being honest with you. I took another trip to Jamaica and put that on a credit card. And right before I did that move, I bought a car. And that car interest rate, it was decent compared to today. So I had good credit. And so it was like a 4% interest rate, which now is almost unheard of for a lot of you all, a lot of people in America. But it was a great rate at the time. But I had a car note, I had a more expensive apartment, I was paying for flights back and forth, and I had racked up debt. And so I knew like I needed to do something. And the Lord really opened up the way for me to make a change in my financial situation, because He allowed me to move back to my hometown. I was able to pay off my debt, and it really was just a huge blessing and a huge win for me. So I want to talk to you about how I paid that debt off. You guys, I know you're going to say like, okay, I hear you, but I can't do exactly what you did. Or, I understand that, you paid it off this way, but that just won't work for me. And I would say it may not. But I just want to tell you my story. So how I ended up paying off my debt. I ended up moving in back with my parents. So when I moved back home, I moved in with my parents, and my parents allowed me to stay there for free. And I ended up finding my son at the time free childcare, which is almost impossible, but I got him in a preschool where I wasn't paying for the daycare, because that was eating me up too, because it was like, I think close to $900 a month on top of rent. So I was really just drowning in just my everyday expenses. And I shout out to all the moms out there right now paying daycare. And the dads, like if you're paying daycare, it is no easy feat. Childcare is expensive, and I'm still trying to figure that out with before and after care. So there's no easy feat, and I understand if you feel your back is on the wall, I'm with you here. So I moved in with my parents, which was a sacrifice. And they allowed me to stay there. And what I did was I aggressively attacked my debt. I wrote down everything that I owed, and I put together a plan to say, if I stay here for how many months and I throw the top amount of money in here, how can I pay it off? And so I was able to pay off close to 30 grand in 1 year, which is unheard of. But I was able to do it. I'm not telling you that this will be your story, and I'm not telling you this story so that you can be like, oh, that's how I'm going to pay back my debt. I do have 4 tips for you and paying off your debt that even if you can't move in with somebody, I think you need to consider. So what I did was I threw every month I had a budget, and I would throw that money directly to the credit card payment and the car loan. And in that year, I paid off, it was close to maybe $29,000 worth of debt. I don't have the exact numbers. I have to go back and do the math because now it's been a couple years since I paid it off, or almost at least a year since I paid it off, maybe over a year, a little over a year. So let me tell you a couple of things that I want you to do. There's 4 things when it comes to debt repayment, and I want you to focus on. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But what I want you to focus on is first figuring out what you owe and all of what you owe, like every credit card, every student loan, every debt you owe. I need you to write it down. You cannot address what you won't acknowledge. If you bury your head in the sand and you say like, oh, I'm just going to keep living like this, I'm going to keep doing this, you're never going to do it. The next thing I need you to do is cut up the cards. You cannot pay off credit cards that you keep charging. If you're going to keep charging, or if you're going to keep using the cards, then it's just going to be a revolving cycle. You're on a merry-go-round, you're on a hamster wheel, and you're just going to go in circles. So I need you to cut up the cards and quit using them. I'm not saying close the accounts because I don't want your credit score to drop, even though as you pay off some of these debts, it may drop a little bit, or it may increase a little bit. It just depends on where you're at and what this looks like. So, as you pay off a car loan, you might drop a few points because they say you only have one type of debt. You don't have multiple sources of loans out there. So they like to see that you have a mix, like a mortgage loan and a car loan and some credit cards. You might increase your score because you'll decrease your utilization rate. But, so your score may decrease as you like pay down some debt. But do not worry about the score. Just don't cancel the accounts. So next, I want you to figure out, I want you to cut up the cards, not cancel the accounts. I want you to write it all down. And next, I need you to get you a plan. It doesn't matter if you use the plan that I have or if you use the plan that you come up with. I want to talk about several things the plan that I did. So what I did was I didn't do any type of method. I literally just like put together a plan because I knew once I moved in with my parents, I could just attack the debt, and I just totaled up the total debt. This is what I have to put to it every month and to pay it off. And then I just paid it off. And you can use like interest calculators to help you understand, like, if you put what amount of money, how long it would take you to pay off. I'll link that in the description, the interest calculator you can use. But you can be strategic. I want you to get finite details of what you want, what your plan is. So that's what I did, is I literally just came up with an amount that would allow me to pay it off in the time frame that I want to pay off. You can do it differently. You can do the snowball method. You can do the snowball method, for those that don't know and want some context, is where you take the lowest debt and you pay it off, and you pay everything else on minimum. So everything else you pay on a minimum, and you throw all your money at the lowest debt, and then you snowball that. Once that, you take all your money and you put on the next one, and you go bigger and bigger and bigger. With debt, what I would say, one of the things that I didn't do, because most of my debt was not interest bearing, I knew that I had got some credit cards that had no interest credit cards for 24 months or for however many months. And I knew my time was coming up on there. So these were not interest paying debts. So I did not, besides the car loan was interest paying, but outside of that, there weren't interest paying debts. And so I wasn't like rushing. Not to say I wasn't rushing. I had a clock, because once that interest hit, when you do that, all the interest hits from the beginning of what you charged till now. So if you don't pay it off in that time frame, it hits you not just with the interest you owe today, but the interest you had previously if you don't pay it off. So I say to say, be very cautious with that. I'm not trying to say I didn't have a time clock, but I didn't have I didn't have a lot of interest bearing debt. So I didn't pause everything. So I didn't pause my retirement savings. I did lower it, but I didn't pause it. I didn't pause. What did I not pause? I didn't pause. Like, I did pause putting into my savings account, and I was putting everything in there. So I didn't pause everything. I would say if you have interest bearing debt that is eating you up, I would say pause putting in the retirement, pause putting into the savings, pause putting money into the 529, not just lower, but pause and throw all that money you would put in those things into paying down your debt. So that's the snowball method. The snowball method, you start with the smallest debt and you work your way to the next one. What this does is gives you some dopamine hits of completing something instead of working on the biggest one or the highest interest one and feeling like you're getting nowhere and getting discouraged. If you are very disciplined, I say that you can do the highest interest payment plan, where you tackle the cards with the highest interest rate. You tackle them first, and then you go down until you tackle all of them. This one takes extreme discipline. The other one is for my friends that are not as disciplined and do get discouraged and need that dopamine hit of "you're doing a great job." The third thing I would say is look for opportunities to cut out expenses or opportunities to help yourself support in this. So I would tell you this, my parents were a blessing, but I had already had in my mind, like, if I move back home, maybe I'll stay with them for a little while. And actually I was so blessed. My daddy actually brought it up before I brought it up to him. And I was like, yes, that's what I want to do. And it was just aligning, but I was thinking about ways to begin with. Some of you guys may not be able to do that, but you can think about getting a roommate. You can think about getting a second job. You can think about side hustles that aren't going to cost you anything to get started. You can think about the gig economy. Can you Uber? Can you Lyft? Can you Uber Eats? What can you do? And I'm not saying those make great, they're just great on your car or anything, or something you want to do long term if you can avoid it. But can you use Amazon Flex? What can you do to make some money? I know it's the holiday seasons and people are going to want extra people in the malls or in the stores. Excuse me. So some people might be hiring. I know there may be a lot of returns, and so people still may be hiring for the holidays. What can you do? I think I need you to think outside of the box and look for opportunities. What do you have in your house that you're no longer using that you could sell, that's been sitting around collecting dust? Put it on Facebook Market. Get the money up front. Have a safe meeting space. Like, what is it that you can do to really tackle this debt? Look for opportunities, and don't just say like, Erica, there is no opportunities. Open your mind to, there's a opportunity out there that's just right for me. What is it? And when you don't shut your mind down and say like, I don't see nothing, you can say, well, what else is there? I think that you will find opportunities. The other thing that, and like overtime, I just forgot about that. Like, work overtime. Talk to your managers about, is there any opportunities to do overtime or take on some higher level responsibilities so that I can, get promoted or do something. The last thing I'm going to tell you is debt repayment is brutal. It's brutal it's brutal because it's not, it feels like you're putting money into the abyss. Like, it feels like, it doesn't give you the same energy as saving. So like when you're saving money, you get these energies because you get to look at your bank account grow and you're like, woo, woo, you get so excited, like seeing that number go from 1,000 to 2,000 to 5,000, right? But you don't get the same energy from paying down debt because it really does feel like it's going into the abyss, and it also is stuff for you already enjoy. So all the value that you got out of this stuff is long gone. Like when I was paying off my trip to Jamaica, like I enjoyed that trip, but the vacation was gone. I was ready for another vacation while I'm paying this off, right? And so some of that is gone. And so I'm going to encourage you to celebrate the small wins. Like when you pay off your $100, like find a way to celebrate in little ways, whether that is like, doing a movie night for yourself, or like, having a glass of wine and toasting to yourself, or doing just something that you enjoy, like, that doesn't cost money. I'm not talking about doing anything that will cost you money, but really thinking about something that brings you like a little bit of joy, like a piece of chocolate or something, like reward yourself. Like, think about it like that. What can I do? And not talking about spending any money or anything like that, but stuff around the house. What makes you happy? What brings you like that little piece of heaven, that quiet time that you get. Go and experience. Take a walk. Think about like how far you come and really celebrate yourself. Write a journal. Journal about like how far have I come since the last time, since I've gotten there. What have I paid off? And then celebrate yourself. The reason this works so well of just like figuring out what you have, getting a plan and sticking to it, and then looking for those opportunities to cut expenses or opportunities to engage your finances more, and then celebrating the wins. The reason this works is because finances are simple. They are not complicated, and there is no magic pill that solves your problems all at once. Only thing that solves them is hard work and dedication. What I will say, and this is my last tip, is automate if you are not good at it. If you're not good at just paying it, automate. Put everything else on automated payments at the minimum if you're doing the snowball method, or the minimum if you're doing the high interest rate. Put them on minimum payments and keep them automated, and then pay the bigger payment. Make that payment every month and automate that amount goes to it. If you have to, because sometimes with credit cards, they'll only let you, they won't let you automate like a weird amount. You can put it on the minimum as well. And then, when you get paid, the first thing you do is pay that down. And don't do anything else until you do that, and then start to calculate the rest of what you want to do with your money. I say this to encourage you, because you guys, it's hard. It's not easy. It is so easy in this day and age to get into debt, to, go through things like job loss, to go through things like moving to a new city, to go through things of, having to figure it out, and, ups and downs in your financial journey. I had, uh, career moments and moments in my life where I was able to put away $1,000 a month, or something crazy to that effect. And I've had times where I could put nothing, that I was really like, scraping by, it felt like. And so I will tell you that it's not easy. And this financial journey you're on is not just up, 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 and up. It goes up, it goes down, it comes up and it comes down. But you can be consistent and you can make it happen. Think about the wins that you want to have. Focus in on the larger goal of what you're trying to accomplish, and move through debt repayment quickly. Throw the kitchen sink at it. Do whatever you can to get out of it, and that will really reward you going forward. Because once you pay down debt, you can focus on those wealth building tips I talked about. You can focus on the budget trap video that I talked about, of where to put your money and your focus at when you think about your budget. You can do all of that, but we gotta quit paying interest, and we gotta gotta pay off our debt so that we can grow our future. Let me know in the comments, what are you trying to pay off? If you feel comfortable, put how much, and let us support you. Let us come up with ideas for you. Drop your ideas. If you guys have paid off large amounts of money in the past, what did you do? Share your story. I read every comment, and I would love to know what you guys are doing, or what you guys plan to do in your debt repayment journey. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.